In mitosis, the sister chromatids pair up, and the sister chromatids, they get split apart. Then they're pulled apart into separate cells, and in each cell there is a forget that. Sorry. And the sister chromatids are in two different cells, and they're in the nucleus of each cell, and each cell has a nucleus. In meiosis, there is too much DNA, so the homologous chromosomes and the sister chromatids have to go through the same process, except twice. And in that process, the homologous chromatids pair up, then the homologous chromatids line up vertically in a line, and then the homologous chromosomes are separated and pulled into two different cells, and the sister chromatids are still touching, and they get pulled into two different cells. Then sister chromatids pair up, and they get pulled apart again in both cells. Then they get split into 4 cells with only half of the DNA that normal cells have. If you compare mitosis and meiosis, pretty much the differences are in mitosis, the cell is split into 2 different cells with all of the DNA, with half the DNA that the original cell started with. And in meiosis, the cell only has 1/4 of the DNA that the cell originally had, and half the DNA that the cells would have in mitosis. Then in meiosis, it takes the process is 2 times as long. So, but ends up with only 1/4 of the amount of DNA that the cell started with in each cell. The last difference is in meiosis there are 4 cells, and in mitosis there are only 2 cells. And reproducing by mitosis is asexually, and meiosis is meiosis is sexually, and fertilization, which forms the reproduction sexually. Depending on where you are and what scenario you're in, can differ if it would be better to reproduce via meiosis or via mitosis. pretty much, if you're in the jungle with a lot of predators and a lot of possible diseases, and you have to adapt, then it would be better for my meiosis, because you would have more of a variation in your species. So not only would they evolve faster, but they would be able to adapt better, because say you have a disease that could kill some species, then if they reproduced, if they were all copies of themselves or reproduce using mitosis, then that disease if it could wipe out one of them, it could wipe out all of them. Whereas if you reproduce in meiosis, then if there's a disease that can kill one of those one animal, if in that species, then it wouldn't necessarily kill every animal in that species, because there would be more of a variation. So that one variation might have developed to be immune to that virus. Whereas, say that you're in a place with a lot of competition and open space and easy to get resources, then like essentials, food, water, stuff like that, then it might be I need to reproduce faster, then it would be better to use mitosis, because with mitosis you can reproduce way faster, and you don't have to spend time looking for a mate, so you can reproduce faster. But that's not always a good thing, because like I said before, if like a new disease comes and it can wipe out one of them, and they're all clones of each other, then they could all be wiped out. So, but it kind of depends on where you are in what scenario. An example species of this is humans. We reproduce through using meiosis. So that is good, because there are a lot of diseases that can kill humans, but luckily with all the different variation in our DNA, some will survive that, some will be able to survive or better manage the virus than others. And since we have used meiosis, we have evolved, or the species that we came from, aka monkeys, we have evolved into a higher species. So predators are not really a threat to us. An example of mitosis is starfish, and for them, it's better for them, because they don't really have diseases to wipe out starfish. Yeah, they do have predators, but they don't really have that many predators. And part of the good thing for them is that if they lose like an arm or something, since they reproduce asexually, they reproduce through mitosis, they are able to grow that limb back eventually. So, yeah. And they are able to reproduce at a good rate. And, well, they reproduce faster than they die. So, yeah. The end.
Made with Doodlecast Pro.